Hey guys, Brian Davis from Spark Rental here. Glad to be with you. And I am excited to have Logan Ransley with us from Landlord Studio. Logan Ransley is the co-founder, head of growth at Landlord Studio, which is arguably the best property management app out there for mom and pop landlords, which is precisely why we partnered with them. So we have formed a partnership with Logan and his team to help power our own landlord software. They have all the standard features, of course, of property management software like tenant screening, rent collection. Where the platform particularly shines is accounting automation. So we'll get into some of that, but we'll also talk about some of your experiences, Logan, with house hacking and building an online business and all that good stuff. So Logan, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so if you guys couldn't tell from Logan's accent, Logan is from New Zealand. Logan's a Kiwi, so I know it's early in the morning the next day for you,
Yeah.
Logan. And you and I were talking before the show actually about how different the laws are in New Zealand as around real estate investing. So I understand you're doing some house hacking, but you were telling me that the laws in New Zealand are quite unfriendly to real estate investors. So tell us about your experiences with house hacking and with real estate investing in general in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I have interviews, podcasts, as soon as I start speaking, my interviewees are always like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm obviously New Zealand, bottom of the world. So it sparks up an interesting conversation around, what's sort of real estate investing like in New Zealand versus the US, for instance. And it's quite an interesting topic because I think there's a lot of aspiring real estate investors down here which get exposure to the US market, and they are sort of envious because the way New Zealand is, tax laws are set up is they're not super friendly for real estate investors, and perhaps that's just population size, or there's a real strong focus on tenancy rules and laws and sort of favoring the tenants. But to buy a house in Auckland, which is one of the sort of key cities in New Zealand where a lot of the density is, you're looking at $1 million on average for a 3 or 4 bedroom house, which is not very pretty to look at either. So the sort of average house price here is very expensive. And then on top of that, you can't deduct things like interest off your mortgage. There's no depreciation. There's none of that stuff. So it makes real estate investing quite difficult in Auckland specifically, in New Zealand as a whole. But we're starting to see sort of the change moving towards more high density duplexes, triplexes, single, multifamily, etc., start to come into New Zealand. So hopefully that brings a little bit more of a flexibility for us.
Yeah. So now you're doing a little bit of house hacking. So how have you gone about that? Because I've done my share of house hacking over the years, as has my partner Denny, and she's gotten really creative with it. I mean, she's rented out storage space. She's hosted foreign exchange students. I've had housemates, and right now we get free housing through my wife's work. So tell us about how you are going about house hacking.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the real estate wealth is held in the generation before myself, so sort of 50, 60 plus. And so for us to succeed in real estate, we actually have to subsidize the massive outgoings, which are our mortgages at the moment. So, I mean, our interest rates have just hit 7%, so very high. And we don't have long fixed term loans either. The longest loan you can fix is 5 years. And so every 5 years you have to refix on whatever the interest rate is. And so what that does is it creates quite unstable environment for real estate investing. And so for myself, I fixed for 5 years, fortunately at a lower interest rate. And then I had to subsidize the outgoings because of how expensive property is here. And so I've got my flat, had some flatmates move in, and then essentially just pay for a room and help to subsidize those costs and share the sort of living arrangement. And so it's sort of like a flat environment, except I'm the house owner, and it's really just subsidizing my mortgage outgoings. But long term, I want to use the sort of equity in the property to then buy more rental properties or real estate.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And, Denny and I are huge fans of house hacking in general. I mean, housing, of course, is your largest expense. If you can find a way to reduce or ideally eliminate that, then you have a lot more money to invest,
Mhm.
to build wealth, build passive income streams. So I love that. So, Logan, tell us about how Landlord Studio came to be, and what makes it so different from other property management software platforms on the market.
Interesting story. So my business partner, Charles, was living in London in the UK at the time. And on a great day rate, he was a software developer. And his goal was to effectively move back to New Zealand, start real estate investing with the sort of savings and wealth that was generated from this contracting role. Um, but being a mobile developer, he effectively ran into the same problem that I think most real estate investors end up sort of falling into. It's that spreadsheets don't do the job very well, and
Right.
that's why we build software. Right, software is to automate a lot of that manual task management, etc., of whatever it may be. And in this case, it was a rental property. And so when he couldn't find a mobile app specifically, because being a mobile developer favored that sort of technology platform,
Sure.
decided to build his own one. And so after building a very sort of basic income and expense tracking tool, he put it onto the App Store and somehow just managed to get this organic traction, which was primarily coming from the US market, which was really interesting. And as the product sort of developed over time, and our understanding of the problem that it was solving, it was a very simple problem. Accounting software and spreadsheets don't do a good job for tracking income and expenses for rental properties. And so as we sort of honed into that problem statement, we started to develop the product and make it easier and easier for just doing that bookkeeping for rental properties. And that's how we've sort of naturally grown over time and really attracted a lot of real estate investors, anywhere from 1 unit up to 100. And I think the main difference between what we've done and the likes of other sort of software is that we started with the accounting aspect first, whereas most property management softwares have started with the other aspects, such as tenant screening, listings, rent collection, etc. And so we tapped into a niche that other property management softwares weren't really dealing with, because it is complex. And so over time, we grew our audience in that area, and then have then gone into these other aspects of rental property sort of management with the rent collection, etc. And that's what you'll find in the Spark rental property management app as well. So all those different types of features in that product is just encompassing that overall sort of management experience.
Yeah, I mean, as a former landlord, a recovering landlord, if you will, I can speak firsthand to just how much of a pain the accounting is, and the bookkeeping is for rental properties. It's something that a lot of landlords don't talk about, and of course, novice landlords or aspiring landlords don't know about. Just how complex it is to be constantly tracking, every expense, every piece of income, not all of which is a simple receipt that you get, right? I mean, some of it is tracking mileage, and different types of expenses, maybe that have to be depreciated over time instead of written off in 1 year, and I mean all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about how your property management software automates that accounting.
So we start. So the way the product structured is, in comparison to like accounting software, is that we effectively build a profit loss ledger for every single property. And so if you use a product like QuickBooks Online, Xero, Sage, etc., they typically are all done around a single business entity, which is what it's designed for. And so
Right.
the biggest difference here is that every single rental property effectively acts like a different entity based on its sort of income and outgoings. And you need to track that, because when you file, for example, a Schedule E, you actually need to break it down by property. And so that's the biggest difference between our product and, say, a typical sort of accounting solution. And so what we've done is we've taken then the sort of flagship features that you find in accounting software, like bank feeds, which is a way to import transactions from your bank account automatically. We've built that feature and functionality into Landlord Studio, so it allows you to then automate a lot of that transaction flow into the product, but then using that structure of a property by property ledger, it then easily allows you to then reconcile all the transactions correctly without the sort of hacking way that you would typically use in a software like Xero or Intuit.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest features in this software. It was one of the things that attracted Denny and myself to you guys and what you're doing to form the foundation of our new software platform, is that bank account sync. So you just connect your bank account to the software account, the app account, and it just imports all of those transactions automatically. And some of them can be automatically tagged without you having to label them yourself. Some of them you can go in and of course change the labeling. So I love that. I also love how the mobile app has the mileage tracking feature. That's, hit a button, tracks your mileage, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. So one thing that I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about, a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs at heart, right? They love the idea of building their own business, whether a side gig or, as a main squeeze or a main gig. And of course, launching an online business is a lot less costly than opening a brick and mortar restaurant or cafe or store or whatever. So tell us a little bit about the journey of launching an app and an online business and growing that to fruition.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting journey because particularly in the property management software space, it's extremely competitive. Like there are a lot of products.
We know that all too well.
Yeah, there are a lot of products. And what's been interesting is seeing how long. So if you look at the sort of leading property management software, they've typically been around a long time, 8 years plus. And we've come to know this ourselves because we're reaching that point of the sort of 8-year mark or the 10-year mark in a couple of years. And we've really seen the most amount of growth come out of the last year. And I think it's because of this element of, trust, managing a rental property and using software to do it. You need to be able to trust the tools and really rely on the tools so that they can do a good job of it. And so for us as a business owner, it's been quite challenging in the first few years to really gain the trust of our audience. But I think that's the most important part, particularly with software and dealing with sort of real estate investors. And to do that, we've really honed in on this sort of educational content piece, which is where we've seen a lot of the value. We provide a lot of free resources, a lot of free content, a lot of free training videos so that real estate investors can learn how to do real estate, not only just with the tool, but just to be able to do it themselves and actually learn all the little complex pieces of operating a rental property business. And by providing that value, it allows them to both get exposure on your brand, but also that trust element as well. So we've been a very content heavy sort of brand as well. And it's probably quite similar to Spark Rental. You guys provide a lot of amazing resources and, a lot of sort of value for the audience for free. So.
Yeah, no, that has been our mission as well. And our main marketing strategy, if you will, over the years is providing education, primarily free education. 99% of the education we provide is totally free. So yeah, we're really big on that because when I first started investing in real estate in my early to mid 20s, I made every mistake in the book and totally lost my shirt. And it was all avoidable mistakes. It was all stuff that if I had just gone out and had the humility to learn a little bit more about what I was doing, I could have avoided all those expensive mistakes. So, yeah, it's been a priority for Denny and me to go out and try to provide that education for free to real estate investors, whether they're novices or intermediate or getting into more advanced kinds of investments. So, Logan, I want to be respectful of your time here, but before we hop off, I'd love to hear just any final thoughts you have about either investing in international real estate or growing an online business. Any tips that you have as someone who has a little bit of a different background, a little bit of a different experience? Any tips you have for our audience?
I would say if you're in the US particularly and you're on the fence about investing in rental properties, just know that you're in a market that really supports it and gives you a very strong foundation for investing in real estate in comparison to other markets like New Zealand. So make sure you do take that opportunity, because there are people like myself that it is a lot harder for. And so dive right in, use the resources from Spark, and sign up to their product and actually start that journey, because it's going to, building that generational wealth starting today is just, it's all in your favor. So that would be my advice. And yeah, that's my that's my key takeaway.
No, I love it. And it's a great point that investing in real estate in the US comes with so many advantages that a lot of countries just don't offer. For example, I was talking to someone earlier today about investing in Argentinian real estate and how you basically can't get a mortgage in Argentina because they've had over 100% inflation over the last year.
Yeah.
So what bank is going to lend mortgages, in a country with 100% plus inflation? So, you can only buy properties in cash in Argentina for the most part. So, it's a great takeaway that, you have a ton of advantages investing in real estate in the US that you just don't have in most of the rest of the world. So, yeah. Logan, thank you so much for your time today, coming on, talking about your experiences, what you have been building with your property management software. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Appreciate it, Brian, and yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, guys, stay in touch with us. Let us know what you want to hear more about. support@sparkrental.com. If you enjoy these conversations, give us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'll catch you next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m.